This group is called the Nymphales. And the Nymphales is a very early group of plants that have characteristics of both monocots and dicots. And as such, when we look at the Nymphales, we see a precursor to those things that we now have as monocots and dicots. And these are very, very pretty flowers or very pretty plants when you look at them. First off, it says everything is structured in whorls, which means everything wraps around and it's not all single, which means we have multiple things and they are wrapped around in circular patterns. The ovaries are separate, which means each individual ovary, which will produce a single seed, are separate, but they are held on a rather large receptacle. When we look at an Nymphales, we see something like this, and you say, wait a second, that's a water lily. Yes, these are water lilies. Think about it. Precursor plants, a lot of water, so they don't have to worry about handling a dry environment, but they have everything in whorls, which means it's all spirals around. The bud comes up looking like this. And you can see there are a lot of scales on the bud wrapping around the outside of it that we would now call sepals. When the flower opens, look at how many petals. Whole bunch of flowers, and they're all wrapped around in a whorl. If you look on the inside, we see the stamens. And the stamens, you've got the anthers and the filaments, and there are a lot of them, and they're all wrapped around on the inside, so they're in a whorl. If we look at the central spot, that little upside down pyramid, what you see is the stamens have come off on the bottom, but up on the top what we see are these little points coming up, and each one of those is going to be an individual ovary. You can see the individual little pistil coming out of the top of it, the individual little stigma and style coming out of the top of it. It's not very long, but they're all separate, and if you look at it, they're in a circular pattern, so they're whorled again. If we get a close-up, we see this, and you can see the individual stigmas and styles coming up, and what they're doing is that's where the pollen is collected, and as you get the pollen being collected in there, it's going to fertilize them, and each one is going to be an individual little seed. There it is. Up on the top, that's the stigma and the style. As it becomes fertilized, it turns into something like this. It matures into this, and you can see it's now kind of green, which means it's kind of photosynthetic instead of being the nice showy flower it was before, and it starts to increase in size. And again, you can see where the formation of the seed is occurring, and they are in this nice little whorled pattern or circular pattern. This is a much larger one. This is much more mature, and you can see how it's now kind of bent over a little bit. It looks almost like a shower head, and you can see the size of the individual ovaries growing in here, and they're kind of pushing on the outside of the receptacle, but it's all in a whorled format, and that's the individual ovary. Once they mature, the outer part of the receptacle type material starts to dry back down. Everything pulls away, and what you have are the individual little seeds that can then come out, and the individual little seeds can be used to plant new plants. And everything is whorled. These are often used as artistic decorations, as a dry flower. And this is a lotus flower, and again, this is in the Nymphales. So when we're dealing with Nymphales, we see characteristics of dicots, we see characteristics of monocots. We see aquatic plants that are very early in the evolutionary scale, but are quite interesting, and everything again in them is whorled.